Hi everyone, my name is Dustin Meyer and welcome to another episode of Impact Photo. Today we're going to do a quick retouching in Portrait Pro Studio Max. Okay, so we're just going to jump right into it. So one of the things I always try to do first is get all of my color corrections and whatnot that I can do in Lightroom done first. And then what I'll do is import it into Portrait Pro Studio Max, and so you guys can see all the cool retouching stuff. So anyways, all right, the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to take out some of the little defects and stuff here. So we're going to zoom in 1:1 and drag this guy down and get rid of this one. Now, one of the things you may want to know is that the retouching brush in Portrait Pro is that it's not quite the greatest. So it's just, for me, it's a lot easier to just take care of it in Lightroom. We're going to use shortcut key Command- to zoom out. I use shortcut keys all the time, as most of you guys know, because it's just a heck of a lot faster, but I will explain what I'm doing before I use the shortcut key so that way you guys can learn it too. There will be homework, pop quiz tomorrow. No, just kidding. Anyway, okay, so the other thing is that it does look a little askew to me. Now, some of you guys may decide that what you want to do is go down to lens corrections, but unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't quite work if you do the auto upright. So let's watch. So it kind of widened the hips a little bit, and if you're working on a female, you know that is a big no-no. So what I'm going to do is just turn that off. I'm going to leave the profile corrections, chromatic aberration, and constrained crop on, because as you guys can see, watch the vignette here. See, and it also kind of corrects for lens distortion. So I'm going to fix that, and then I'm going to go in here and just kind of change the tilt, looking at the grid lines, and I'm actually using that white column to the side as a reference point. So I think that's pretty darn close. Now keep in mind, I am scaling this down to the iPad Retina display size, which normally I would do full screen, but I'm on an iMac 5K, so it's a little bit smaller than what I'm used to, but I wanted to make sure that it didn't get all like fuzzy and stuff when it downsampled so that you guys can watch it on YouTube. Anyway, skipping on, so we're good there. And so crop looks pretty good. The other thing that I do is take a look at the background here. It's pretty awesome, but a little bit of color is missing. So I'm going to pull down, whoa, wrong one, exposure. Haha, just kidding. I don't always know what I'm doing. So I'm scaling down the highlights, and I'm going to pull it down just enough to where that sky comes back, which looks like it might kind of be all the way. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of clarity. So I'm going to do 15 on that. And then vibrance, let's see how it looks at 15. That's pretty good. We got some greenage back. And tone curve, it's really just your preference, but let's see what medium looks like. Okay, that's better. And then let's kind of mess with the actual contrast itself. Now, the contrast slider does affect the skin tone. So if you notice like blotchy kind of skin color and stuff, then mess with the contrast slider, because that will definitely help. In fact, we're going to do Phil. Hey, Phil. We're going to do 1:1 and just bring it up to his face just to double check here. Render. There we go. So let's see. If I do that, look how the red tones come back. I'm going to zoom it back down. So that looks pretty good. So we're at about -24. I'll just do -25 just, to round things off. And let's see. We're going to zoom back out. So far, so good. Now, sometimes I do put like a manual vignette in there just to make sure that we have a little bit more ambiance, would be a good word for it. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so I think we're good there. Let's see, is there anything else? Oh yeah, so we need to go into detail. Now keep in mind, if you are doing any retouching in Portrait Pro Studio Max, it does need a good amount of detail in order to find the edges of the face because of the facial recognition software. Now, you guys may have your own formula when it comes to sharpening, but what I tend to do is I'll go into sharpening and I'll just drop it right in the middle and see what we get. So a little bit of grainage going on here, and I'll do maybe just a tad bit of masking and a little bit of noise reduction, and let's see what we get. Okay, that's better. Maybe a little bit more radius. Again, we are trying to find the edges of the face, so that looks good enough to me. Good enough. You guys are like, it should look perfect. No, not always. So yes, it should look perfect, but you know, right now we are doing just overall corrections. The rest of it we will fix in Portrait Pro. So let's see here. So far so good. White balance. Let me just warm it up just a little bit, not too much because the reflection coming from below, we don't want it to get too orange. I'm going to add just a touch of green. There we go. That looks much more natural. That way too, we don't again have a lot of like magenta blotchiness on the skin. And again, Portrait Pro Studio Max will fix for that. So let's see here. Sorry, my mouth is getting a little dry. It's because I'm talking so fast. I don't want to waste too much time here. So next we are going to right click. And actually I'm going to right click up here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Edit in Portrait Pro Studio Max. You can set the preferences in Lightroom to have your secondary, secondary software, retouching, editing software, copy over to Portrait Pro. Of course, the initial one is going to be Photoshop. I do TIFF and Adobe 98 and 16-bit, 240, sure, why not? You could do 300 if you want, but I do zip compression just to kind of help speed things along, and also edit a copy with your adjustments that you just made, so it's not just the straight up original. So edit. You guys hear the nuts on my roof? Those are squirrels. It's fall, and nuts are falling on my roof. Alrighty. All right, so now we are in Portrait Pro. It's doing its little thinky thingy where it's trying to find the faces in the image, and let's see what we get. Now, I think it may also kind of pre-sharpen too, but I'm not quite sure. However, remember we did sharpen it earlier just to make sure that it found the edges in the photo, so that way it actually looks like him. Now, the cool thing is in the past we've done retouching with females, so the adjustments for the male is a little bit different because obviously we don't want too much skin smoothing and stuff. I'm going to click on fit, and let's try before and after. Sure, that's super tiny. Again, I had to kind of shrink down the window here, but let's do this. We're going to go to back. Remember before in previous episodes I've talked about going back to adjust the outlines, because if you try to adjust the outlines while it's rendering the changes, it can really slow the software down. So this tends to work better, plus the face is a little bit larger. I'm just going to drag the outlines here. Let's see, we're going to go down to the chin, and we're going to grab this guy here to kind of fix for the contour of the face. And what else here? Okay, hairline, we're going to fix that. And then again, we're just going to click in each window to make sure that the eyes look pretty good. Now, also keep in mind that the outlines of the face are a little bit hazier than, like a headshot, because it is showing more of the environment in the photo. So if you guys are like, geez, Dustin, that's really soft. Well, it's not my fault. Okay, I promise. Let's see. All right, so wow, we really screwed up that one, Portrait Pro. No, I'm kidding. It's actually really good software. So we're going to drag that and correct for it. It's also just because of the shape of the face, the angle that it's held at. So I'm going to fix for that and fix for that. Okay, looking good. And let's look at the nose-mouth region area. Make sure we got the shape of the nose properly, and lips. And again, make sure that you've got the mouth outlines correct, because whatever is in the open space between the lips, it will correct for the color of the teeth, which is pretty sweet, but not if you don't get it right. So there we go. All right, looking good. Let's bring you in here a little bit. There we go. And I think that will work. Again, I can't be too picky on this. So, all right, looks pretty good. Next. Oh, and if you noticed, it actually automatically detected that it was a dude and not a chick. Sorry, I don't really mean chick, but you know what I mean. Okay, so we're going to bring this down just a little bit. And let's see here. We're going to scroll down and just see kind of what it looks like for guys. Okay, standard. And then we are going to go down, let me bring this up a little bit. Okay, face sculpt. This guy doesn't really need it, but hey, you know what? It looks pretty good. And maybe widen the eyes just a little bit. because again, if you look over here, we are looking at him from a slight distance. So the eyes are always something that the human eye tries to recognize first. It's part of our instinct, so we want to see, we want to make that connection. It's very important when it comes to face shots, head shots, that kind of stuff. So making sure that the face looks good is definitely something we want to do. Okie dokie. So let's scroll that up here. Skin smoothing. Okay, this is where we really have to knock it out of the park here. Okay, so skin area. Yeah, I kind of like that color. Not really. Okie dokie. And we're going to say okay. Render, render, render. Master fade. Okay, so far so good. We've got a few more kind of blemishes is showing up and a little bit of shading under the eyes. So let's just grab the master fade slider. See what we get. No. Sorry, that was probably kind of loud. We don't want to go too far with it because we don't want to lose texture in the face. Let's see, around the eyes, maybe bring that in a little. Okay, imperfections will help with wrinkles and stuff, but if you go too far with it, you tend to lose some texture. I'm not going to really worry about thin wrinkles or fine shadows. Pores, I'm going to say no. No shine on the face, so we could probably do away with that. Again, keep in mind that anything inside the skin smoothing area will affect the overall, kind of quality to the face. Now, I'm adding texture, if you guys are wondering what the heck is he doing, because again, we want the face to be sharp. We don't want it to look too plasticky. So let's see here, skin texture type, sure, we'll go with medium. Spot removal. Okay, now watch for the spots on the face, like here on the nose, forehead, right here on the cheekbone, maybe on the chin. This will... let me scroll down a little bit so you guys can see. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. Go back. Okay, and then, so I'm zooming down or scrolling down. I'm going to do low sensitivity, number 3. Let's see what happens. Pretty good. Let's try, let's just crank it all the way and see what happens on maximum. Not bad, not bad. So let's see, text message. Nope, Google Plus. Anyways, so I am on Google Plus, by the way, and I do post my YouTube videos on there, so you can follow me on there. Okie dokie. Now we're gonna do the touch-up brush, and let's see here. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Woo! How is it going? Brackets. Bracket on the right to enlarge. And let's up the strength a little bit. Better. Let's try a little bit more. Do. Sorry, I sometimes like to do Peter and the Wolf. Don't judge me. Okay, let's zoom out and see how that looks. Face. Better. All right. And, ooh, trim eyebrows. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. All right, let's try this one here. Now, skin texture type also comes through when you're doing the retouching. So, if you do like something super smooth, whoop, that's a little too much. Then that will show up in the picture. See, like up here, that was a bit too much. So I'm going to go back down to, let's do fine. Maybe not so much. Oh, you know what it is? Let me go down to strength and bring that down and see if that kind of helps. Better. You know what? Let's bring the texture down just a tad. There we go. And one other thing to keep in mind, let's see, we're going to do, nope, no skin lighting, no makeup. Let's see, eye control, skin coloring controls, let's see, icy frosting. Okay, so this is something else to keep a look at or look out for is, the kind of skin coloring. So let's go with natural. Ta-da! And let's zoom out. There we go. Nice healthy glow to the face. To the face! And doing good. See, you just got to play around with it a little bit. And then we're going to go back to skin smoothing. Better. Let's try imperfections. Better. Around eyes. Better. Then wrinkles, fine shadows, no. Texture, good. We'll do fine 3. There we go. And brightness, bring that down. Maybe not, we'll go up just a little bit. Alrighty. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I know this is not like the best use of your time, but I figured, you know what? You might as well learn some options, right? Let's bring the strength up. And now one thing to keep in mind, guys, is you definitely watch out for like freckles and moles and stuff. You know, usually the rule is if it's brown, leave it. If it's red, fix for it. So that way it's easier to, you know, make sure that you don't get rid of some of those cute little freckles. Yeah, so a little bit more. There we go. And all right, spacebar to grab. Let's get you down here. Let's change the texture type. And bring the strength down just a little bit. There we go, getting nice and smooth there. And let's get this little red spot here. All right. Yeah. Looking good. Okay. So let's zoom out, Command minus. All right, so we still got a healthy glow, and we got nice texture to the face. I know it's kind of hard to tell from this distance, but as you guys could see while we were zoomed in really close, let's see, we'll get that too. And there we go, and one last roll. Now I did kind of change a little bit here, so brightness I came down, saturation down, size down, because I just wanted to make sure everything kind of was nice and even. I may go ahead and get rid of this little freckle right here, whoops, just because, go back, sorry, a little too strong, let's bring it down. Because sometimes it can be mistaken for squirrels. It can be mistaken, you know, for like blemishes and whatnot. So, all right, looking good. And now we're gonna just check the teeth. So mouth and nose controls. Yes, I know. Thank you. And a lot of times I just zoom out all the way, if you guys remember. So I'm going to zoom up a little bit. I'm just checking the whiteness of the teeth so it doesn't look like Twilight. And let's see here. So whitened teeth, bring it down just a little bit. Clean teeth, yes, please. Whitened area, not too much. All right. Looking good, looking good. Okay, so let me turn that off. Close that. Hair, we're going to leave alone. Skin coloring, we like it. And picture controls, usually, you might want to fix that in Lightroom. So before you import it, and because it'll just work with like, a TIFF instead of a raw file. Okay, so so far so good. I'm going to leave the stray hairs alone because I'm going to take that into Photoshop here in just a minute. But right now, everything looks nice. So we're going to do advance to next step, return from plugin, because this will re-import it back into Lightroom. How handy is that? So do. Okay, so it closed out the program, brought us back into Lightroom. Let's just double check and see how everything looks. Looking good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take it into Photoshop, try and fix that hair. Edit copy, sure, why not? Or you could do an original. It will make an extra copy. That's okay. All right, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in to the face. All right. Okay, so here's a trick that I learned a while back. Just use the lasso tool. Sorry, El Capitan again. So we're going to use the lasso tool. We're just going to grab small parts instead of like the whole bunch. And we're going to do Shift Delete. And what will happen is this little guy will pop up, Fill. So, hey, Phil. So, I know, it's bad. So contents, put it on content aware, color adaptation, mode normal, and opacity 100. Let's see what it does. Not bad. Okay, so now we can go in and try not to grab too much at once because it does create a hard time for it to try and calculate, but it will be just little by little. There we go. And as you can see, it does create a little bit of a darker blue haze, but we can also go back and clone. Now, the other thing you can do too is you can refine edge if you want. Woo, no, that doesn't work. Command Z to undo. Let's see here. I may not want to take out all this stuff because I do want it to look somewhat natural. Okay, how are we looking? Not bad. I'm going to come in here and take out that little spot. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. There we go. And any sort of like weirdness, there it is. Okay, Command D. All right, so the last thing you can do, just kind of to clean out this area here, Command D to deselect. We are going to use the clone stamp. So now I'm going to set my clone stamp. I usually have it at 25 opacity and let me see here, 25 opacity, flow opacity, just because I don't want to overdo it. And I'm going to increase the size here with the bracket tool. That's too big. I'm going to Alt key or Option key to sample the area that you want to do it from. And I'm going to zoom in to make sure that this looks nice. Oh, and last thing too, in the upper toolbar, if you click on this guy here, you can change the hardness, which is the edge of the brush. So I usually keep it down as low as I can because I don't want to have like a super defined edge while I'm doing the cloning. Okay, so once again, Alt or Command key to sample the area. And then I'm just going to come in here. You'll see like a small preview. And we're just going to paint over that. Sorry, I like humming and stuff. Do you guys like to hum? Yeah? Okay, clicking again. You can even paint over a little bit of those rougher edges just to kind of help blend it with the other colors, so that it looks a little bit more realistic. And let me bring that down a little. So really I'm just trying to paint over the edges where it is obvious that we, cut out. some of this stuff, and there's an obvious difference between, you know, the lighter blue where his hair strands are. And let's fix that one too. Of course, I could also just, you know, do the remember shift delete after using the selection tool. I try not to do like a perfectly, you know, cleaned up hairline, because otherwise it just doesn't look right. And now that I'm looking at it, we're going to do this big clump of hair. Let's see what it does when I do a big grab. Not bad. Let's try it again. And this time I'm going to loop some of the inside of the hair, see if that helps. Ho ho ho, check that out. Doing good, doing good. Man, those squirrels, can you guys hear that? I've got like a ton of squirrels. It's like, I don't even know what to say. It's like Squirrel-mageddon. It's bad. They're all coming after never mind, I'm not even going to say it. Command D to deselect, and again, clone tool. Let's go in and fix this stuff so it looks realistic, zooming in. All right, I'm going to crank up the opacity a little bit here to 50, just to kind of speed things along. And again, the idea here is to just kind of get rid of some of that, oh, you know what I'm saying, that super fakish kind of like, hey, we cut his hair off right here. Because nothing will kill a photo like, you know, making it super obvious. You can also clone from the inside too, and that tends to help kind of fill in those gaps, especially if you brought in a little too much of that bluish color. All right, let's check it out. Okay, I think we're all right. You can also go in and sharpen this a little bit more if you want. Okay, and I don't want to make this, you know, too much about using Photoshop, because this is more about Portrait Pro. All right. All right, let's do, all we have to do is Command S to save it, because it made an extra copy in Lightroom. And that's saved, so now we're going to just Command Q to quit. I'm going to go back. It already kind of pre-rendered it. If there's anything left in here that you want to take care of, just to make sure everything's looking all hunky-dory. Jeez, Lightroom, what are you doing? Okay. And you know what? Now that I'm here, I'm just going to do one quick low opacity clone thingy. Oh yeah, scroll wheel, scroll mouse, whatever. And Lightroom will change the shape of your cursor, which is kind of nice. Good. Yeah, lowered opacity to about 50 or so. Oop. Let's get that off. Hey, I think that looks pretty darn good. So thank you guys for sticking in there with me. I know it was a little bit long, and but otherwise, for the most part, we were able to get this done in a reasonable amount of time. And, you know, once again, it's always just nice to, you know, watch a few videos here or there to improve, you know, your retouching techniques. So anyways, thank you for tuning in to Impact Photo. I'm your host, Dustin Meyer. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like these videos. Otherwise, I just won't do them anymore. Well, no, sorry, I probably will. But either way, you know, show your appreciation. I'd love it if you guys like or subscribe. Any comments, leave them in the comments below. And that way I'll be able to answer them, and you'll be able to go back and check all that good stuff. So either way, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe if you like our videos, and also give it a like. And any questions you've got, just put them in the comments below and I'll answer them as best I can. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next time. Presets just right for each individual subject, then for the rest of the time, you're pretty much just going to be saying, okay, yeah, apply this filter. Oh, yeah, apply it on this one too. It's just a really, really great piece of software. So let's just jump right into it. So this is a photo shoot I was doing for a magazine last week, and this is one of the ones that they requested. So of course, I'm probably not going to release this as far as which photo shoot it was or which magazine, but either way, so let's just go right in.